The salvage beacon pulsed weakly through the void, a dying heartbeat in the darkness between stars. Maya Reyes guided her small freighter toward the source, her calloused hand steady on the controls. She had answered dozens of salvage calls in her 5 years as an independent mechanic. But this one felt different. The coordinates pointed to a sector marked as empty space on every star chart she owned. Terminus 7, she muttered, reading the faded designation on her scanner. Never heard of you, old friend. The station materialized from the black like a ghost. It was enormous, easily 10 times larger than any human construction Maya had ever seen. Its architecture was strange, all flowing curves and spiraling towers that seemed to defy physics. Frost covered every surface, glittering in the light of distant stars. The station had been frozen for a very, very long time. Maya docked at what looked like a maintenance port. The airlock groaned as it cycled, ancient mechanisms struggling to remember their purpose. She stepped into the corridor beyond, her breath fogging in the frigid air. The beam from her helmet light cut through absolute darkness. Ice crystals danced in the glow like tiny diamonds. Well, this is creepy, she said to herself, a habit from too many years working alone in space. Her voice echoed down passages that stretched beyond sight. The station was a maze of corridors and chambers, all abandoned. Whoever built this place had left in a hurry, or perhaps they had never left at all. Maya found frozen workstations with alien scripts scrolling endlessly across dead screens. She found storage bays filled with equipment she couldn't identify. Everything was covered in that same pristine layer of frost, preserved like insects in amber. But there was power here. Maya could feel it humming through the deck plates beneath her boots. Somewhere deep in this frozen tomb, something still lived. She followed the power signature for over an hour, descending level by level into the heart of the station. The architecture changed as she went deeper. The walls began to glow with faint bioluminescent patterns, circuits of light that pulsed like veins. The air grew warmer. The ice began to thin. Finally, Maya stepped into a chamber so vast she couldn't see the far walls. In the center stood a structure of crystal, massive and impossibly complex. It rose from floor to ceiling like a pillar of frozen lightning. And inside the crystal, Maya saw something that made her heart stop. It was a creature of legend and nightmare combined. The body was reptilian, covered in scales that shimmered with their own inner light. Wings lay folded against its flanks, vast wings that would span half the chamber if unfurled. The head was noble and terrible, with curved horns and teeth like swords. Even frozen in crystal sleep, the creature radiated power. Maya approached slowly, unable to look away. She had seen pictures in old Earth databases, images from humanity's ancient myths and stories. But this was no myth. This was real. A dragon, she whispered. An actual dragon. Her engineer's mind took over, pushing past wonder. She circled the crystal prison, examining it from every angle. This wasn't a cage. It was a stasis pod, incredibly advanced, keeping the creature suspended between life and death. And it was failing. Cracks spider-webbed across the crystal surface. Whatever power source maintained this prison was running out after centuries of operation. Maya found a control panel at the base of the crystal. The alien script meant nothing to her, but she recognized circuitry when she saw it. She pulled out her portable scanner and began mapping the system, her fingers flying across holographic controls. The station's computer network was still partially functional, its data cores preserved by the cold. She worked for hours, piecing together fragments of information. The station's logs told a story of war and betrayal, of a species called the Draconids who had served as peacekeepers in a galaxy humanity had never known. They had been hunted, destroyed, frozen in stations like this one across the stars. This creature might be the last of its kind. And there, buried in a personnel file, Maya found a name. Not in any language she knew, but the computer helpfully provided a phonetic translation. Vexthalen. She looked up at the frozen dragon, at the cracks spreading slowly across its crystal prison. In hours, maybe days, the stasis field would fail completely. The creature would either wake or die, and Maya suspected it would be the latter. Frozen for a millennium, its body might not survive the shock of sudden awakening. But maybe with the right help, Maya reached out and touched the control panel. Systems activated that hadn't run in 1,000 years. The crystal began to glow brighter. Deep within its structure, something stirred. "Okay, big guy," Maya said softly. "Let's see if we can do this right. Wake up, Vexthalen. Time to come home." The crystal shattered like thunder. The sound of breaking crystal echoed through the chamber, like 1,000 bells ringing at once. Maya stumbled backward as massive shards fell around her, each piece dissolving into mist before it hit the ground. The light from inside the prison blazed brighter, forcing her to shield her eyes. Then the dragon moved. Vexthalen's eyes opened first, burning like molten gold. The great head lifted, neck extending as the creature drew its first breath in a millennium. The sound was like wind rushing through a canyon, deep and ancient. Ice and crystal fragments slid from scales that gleamed like polished metal in starlight. Maya's hand went to the plasma cutter on her belt, but she didn't draw it. The dragon wasn't attacking. It was confused, disoriented, swaying on legs that hadn't supported weight in 1,000 years. She watched as Vexthalen tried to spread its wings and failed, the muscles too weak, too long and used. The dragon's gaze found her. For a moment, human and dragon had stared at each other across the space where the crystal prison had stood. Maya saw intelligence in those golden eyes, and pain, and something that might have been fear. Then Vexthalen spoke. The words came out wrong, garbled and distorted. The translator device embedded in the dragon's throat was damaged, producing sounds that were half speech and half electronic static. But Maya caught fragments. "Betrayal Coalition, we're alone?" "Easy," Maya said, raising her empty hands. "I'm not here to hurt you. My name is Maya. I'm human. I don't think you know my species." The dragon's head tilted, studying her with predator's focus. More broken words came. "Human knew the war how long?" Maya's scanner had pulled timestamps from the station's logs. She took a breath and delivered the terrible truth. 1,043 years. You've been frozen for over a millennium. The sound Vexthalen made was not quite a roar and not quite a scream. It was grief-given voice, raw and primal. The dragon collapsed, legs folding beneath a body too weak to carry the weight of such loss. The great head bowed to the deck, and Maya saw the creature's sides heaving with breaths that might have been sobs. She should have run. Every instinct screamed at her to flee, while the dragon was vulnerable. Instead, Maya Reyes did what she always did when confronted with something broken. She set about fixing it. "Your translator is damaged," she said, moving slowly toward the dragon. "And you're freezing. This chamber is warmer than the rest of the station, but it's still below zero. Your body can't handle the cold after stasis." Vexthalen watched her approach with eyes that held 1,000 years of suspicion. But the dragon didn't move, didn't threaten. Perhaps it was too weak. Perhaps it was simply too tired to care anymore. Maya reached the dragon's neck and examined the translator device embedded there. It was technology beyond anything humanity had achieved, but the basic principles were familiar enough. Circuits, power flow, data transmission. She pulled out her tools and began working, her hands steady despite the creature that could kill her with a single bite. "I'm going to try to restore station power," she said as she worked. Talk and fill the silence. "Get the environmental systems running. Warmth, atmosphere, maybe even food synthesis if the system still works. I don't know what you eat, but we'll figure something out." The translator clicked and hummed as she repaired connections. Suddenly, Vexthalen's voice came through clearly. "Why do you help me?" Maya paused in her work. "Because you need help. That's reason enough. Your species does not know mine. You owe me nothing. The galaxy destroyed my people. Why would you not do the same?" "Because I'm not them," Maya said simply. She finished the last connection and stepped back. "Try it now." Vexthalen spoke again, and this time the words were clear and perfect. "I am Vexthalen, last guardian of the Draconid fleet. I was frozen by my own people to preserve what we were before the Coalition erased us from existence. You are human, a species that did not exist when my civilization fell." "That's right," Maya said. "Humanity came later. We found a galaxy already scarred by old wars. We're trying not to repeat the mistakes of the past." "Noble words," the dragon replied, but there was no mockery in the tone, only exhaustion. I have heard such word before. They meant nothing in the end. Then judge us by our actions, Maya said. She walked to a wall panel and began working on the power systems, starting with getting you warm and fed. Over the next hours, Maya worked miracles with ancient technology. Lights flickered to life throughout the chamber. Heat began flowing through long dormant vents. The station's damaged computer core responded to her commands, creaking back to life like an old man rising from bed. Vexthalen watched her work with growing curiosity. You have skill with machines. Your species builds tools, then? We build everything, Maya said, grinning despite the situation. Can't fly or breathe fire or whatever you do, so we make up for it with clever hands and stubborn hearts. For the first time in 1,000 years, Vexthalen made a sound that might have been a laugh. Then the alarms began to scream. Maya's scanner lit up with proximity warnings. Ships were approaching the station. Many ships, and they were not friendly. Maya's hands flew across the control panel, her eyes scanning the incoming data. 6 ships, heavy cruiser class, bearing the insignia of the Kryn Imperium, one of the old coalition races, the same ones who had hunted the Draconids to extinction. They tracked the station's power surge, she said, already running toward the docking bay. We have maybe 10 minutes before they're in weapons range. Can you fly? Vexthalen rose to full height, testing wings that trembled with effort. I am weak, but I will manage. My ship's too small for you, Maya said, thinking fast. There's a hangar on level 3. The station logs showed Draconid vessels still docked there. Can you pilot one? The dragon's eyes brightened. If any survived, yes. Our ships bond to our neural patterns. They will remember me. They ran through the corridors, Maya's boots pounding against metal, while Vexthalen's claws scraped and sparked. The station shuddered as weapons fire struck its outer hull. The Kryn weren't waiting for negotiations. The hangar doors opened to reveal 3 ships covered in frost and dust. They were beautiful, all sleek curves and organic design, looking more grown than built. Vexthalen approached the nearest one and placed a clawed hand against the hull. Light rippled across the surface like water. It remembers, the dragon whispered. Come, human, we fly together. Maya sprinted her own ship, the Rusty Phoenix, and fired up the engines. Through her view screen, she watched Vexthalen's vessel come alive, ice falling away as power flowed through ancient systems. The ship rose smoothly, graceful despite centuries of sleep. They launched just as the Kryn cruisers opened fire. The station exploded behind them. 1,000 years of history vaporized in seconds. Maya threw the Phoenix into a wild spiral, dodging plasma bolts that lit up space like deadly fireworks. They're targeting you specifically, Maya shouted intercom. They really don't want you alive. The Kryn were architects of the genocide, Vexthalen replied, the dragon's voice calm despite the chaos. They will not allow the pass to return. A bolt struck the Phoenix's rear shields, and Maya's cockpit filled with alarms. She cursed and rerouted power from life support to engines, pushing the old freighter beyond safe limits. The ship groaned in protest but responded, surging forward. Then reality itself seemed to bend. Vexthalen's ship blurred, leaving afterimages in space. When it solidified, it was behind the Kryn formation. Weapons that looked like living crystal extended from a hull and fired. The energy that emerged wasn't any weapon Maya recognized. It struck a Kryn cruiser and the ship simply came apart, its atoms losing cohesion, scattering like sand in wind. What was that? Maya breathed. Quantum disruption, Vexthalen said. Our weapons unmake the bonds that hold matter together. This is why they feared us. The remaining Kryn ships scattered, trying to regroup. Maya used confusion to plot a jump to hyperspace, her fingers dancing across controls. I'm sending you coordinates. Human colony, 2 days travel. They'll help us. Your people would shelter a dragon? They do not know what I am. They know what's right, Maya said. She hoped she was telling the truth. They jumped together, leaving the Kryn behind. But Maya knew it wouldn't be the last they saw of their enemies. The old coalition had eyes everywhere, and now they knew a Draconid lived again, The 2-day journey passed in tense silence. Maya spent the time repairing damage to her ship while monitoring galactic news feeds. The story was already spreading. Someone had seen the battle, recorded it, transmitted it across the network. Every species in known space now knew that dragons were real, and one flew again among the stars. The reactions were mixed. Some species called for Vexthalan protection. Others demanded the dragon be destroyed before it could threaten galactic peace. Humanity's response came from Colonial Assembly. Cautious curiosity, a willingness to hear both sides. They arrived at New Terra, a frontier colony of 30,000 souls. Maya landed at the main spaceport, Vexthalan settling beside her in the massive vessel that dwarfed every human ship present. Crowds gathered, kept back by security forces. Some people held signs of welcome. Others held signs of fear. Maya descended her ship's ramp and waited. Vexthalan emerged from the Draconid vessel, and for the first time, humans saw a dragon in the flesh. The crowd fell silent, caught between wonder and terror. The dragon walked forward, each step measured and deliberate. At the base of the ramp, Vexthalan stopped beside Maya, towering over the small mechanic. "I am Vexthalan," the dragon announced, voice carrying across the spaceport. "I mean your people no harm. I seek only to exist, to remember what was lost, and perhaps to find others of my kind who may still sleep in the dark." A child broke from the crowd, a little girl no more than 6. She ran forward before her parents could stop her, stopping just before the dragon. She looked up with wide eyes full of wonder, not fear. "Are you really a dragon?" she asked. Vexthalan lowered the great head to her level. "I am." The girl smiled. "You're beautiful." Something changed in Vexthalan's eyes then, some hard edge softening. "Thank you, small one." Maya watched humans and dragon regard each other, and she felt hope kindle in her chest. Perhaps the galaxy could learn from its past after all. Then her calm chirped with an urgent message. The Galactic Council had issued a formal decree. Vexthalan was to be eliminated as a threat to galactic security. Any species harboring the dragon would face sanctions. The hunt had only just begun. The mining colony on Kepler, 442b, was as far from civilization as one could get and still call inhabited. Maya had chosen it deliberately. The 100 miners who lived here asked few questions and kept to themselves, content to dig rare metals from the planet's crust and ignore galactic politics. For 3 weeks, Maya and Vexthalan hid in an abandoned processing facility at the colony's edge. The dragon spent days in meditation, regaining strength, while Maya worked on decrypting more data from the Terminus 7 archives. What she found changed everything. "There are more," she said one evening, her voice shaking with excitement. "More stasis stations. The coordinates are encoded in the station's core memory. Vexthalan, you might not be alone." The dragon lifted its head from where it had been resting. Those golden eyes held something Maya had never seen before. "Hope. How many?" "I've found references to 4 other stations. The data is corrupted, but if even one survived..." Maya trailed off, letting the possibility hang in the air. "Then I must find them," Vexthalan said, rising to full height. "My people may yet live." "There's something else," Maya said, her tone darkening. She pulled up a holographic display, showing star charts and fleet movements. "The Kryn have mobilized half their navy. They're searching for those same stations. If they find your people before we do, they will finish what they started 1,000 years ago." Vexthalan finished, voice cold as a void between stars. The dragon turned away, wings spreading slightly in agitation. Maya had learned to read Vexthalan's moods over their weeks together. This was anger, deep and ancient and justified. "I could stop them," the dragon said quietly. "My ship's weapons, combined with my abilities, could cripple the Kryn fleet. I could make them pay for what they did. For my civilization, for my family, for everything they took." Maya stood and walked to stand beside the massive creature. She felt small next to the dragon, fragile and brief like a candle flame. But she spoke anyway. "You could," she agreed, "and it would feel good, for a while, righteous even. The Kryn committed genocide. They deserve justice. But..." Vexthalen asked, hearing the word Maya hadn't spoken. But revenge and justice aren't the same thing, Maya said. I've read your people's history in those files. The Draconids were peacekeepers. You chose diplomacy over domination, even when you had the power to rule. That choice made you vulnerable, and the Coalition exploited it. They feared what you could do, not what you did do. And that nobility destroyed us, Vexthalen said bitterly. Perhaps we should have been the monsters they feared. If you become that monster now, you prove they were right to fear you, Maya countered. You prove that dragons are too dangerous to exist. And every species in the galaxy will hunt you, not just a Kryn, including mine. Vexthalen's head whipped around, eyes blazing. Would you hunt me, Maya Reyes? After all we have shared? Maya met that burning gaze without flinching. If you started killing innocent people? Yes, I would. Because the dragon I've come to know isn't a murderer. The dragon I woke up wouldn't slaughter civilians to punish their government. The anger faded from Vexthalen's eyes, replaced by something sadder and more complex. The dragon sat, wings folding, and was quiet for a long time. When the dragon spoke again, the voice was barely above a whisper. My mate's name was Cryvent. We had 3 hatchlings. I watched them freeze themselves into stasis, trusting that we would all wake together in a better age. I do not know if their station survived. I do not know if I will ever see them again. The Kryn took that from me. They took everything. Maya felt tears on her cheeks. She reached out and placed her small hand on the dragon's scale foreleg. Then don't give them the satisfaction of taking who you are too. Find your family. Find the other survivors. Show the galaxy that dragons choose peace not because you're weak, but because you're strong enough to break the cycle. And if the Kryn attack us again, then we defend ourselves, Maya said firmly. Defense isn't the same as revenge. There's a difference between protecting what you love and destroying what you hate. Vexthalen was silent for several minutes, processing. Finally, the dragon nodded slowly. You are wise for one so young and small. I'm a mechanic, Maya said with a slight smile. I fix broken things. Sometimes that includes broken people, or dragons. A chime from Maya's calm interrupted them. She checked the message and her face went pale. The Galactic Council is broadcasting. You need to see this. The holographic display shifted to show a Kryn admiral, his scaled face twisted with contempt. The Draconid designated Vexthalen is a threat to galactic security. We possess evidence that the dragons were developing reality-altering weapons before their containment. We acted in self-defense then. We will act in self-defense now. The feed shifted to show images, clearly manipulated but convincing to those who wanted to believe. Draconid ships destroying planets. Dragons burning cities. Propaganda and lies, but effective ones. They're rewriting history, Maya said, disgusted. They wrote it the first time, Vexthalen replied. The victors always do. The dragon stood, decision made. We go to find my people, not for revenge, but for survival. If dragons are to have a future, we must prove we deserve one. And we will do it your way, Maya Reyes. We will choose peace. Even if they don't choose it back? Especially then, Vexthalen said. That is what separates dragons from monsters. The expedition fleet assembled at the edge of human space was unlike anything the galaxy had seen in centuries. 20 ships from 7 different species, all volunteering to help search for the lost Draconid stasis stations. Humanity provided most of the vessels, but the Turellian Commonwealth, the Moth Collective, and even a few independent Kryn dissidents had joined. Maya stood on the bridge of the lead ship, the Phoenix Risen, named in honor of her old freighter. Vexthalen floated beside her in the Draconid vessel, their ships linked by communication systems Maya had spent weeks perfecting. First coordinates locked in, Maya announced. The station should be in the Veil Nebula if the data was accurate. It will be there, Vexthalen said. I can feel it. My people built things to last. The fleet jumped together, tearing through space toward the unknown. The Galactic Council had condemned the expedition, calling it reckless and dangerous. The Kryn had sent warships to intercept them. But Maya had learned something important over the past months. When you do the right thing loudly enough, people notice. And some of them help. They emerged from hyperspace into a cloud of purple and gold gas, the nebulous particles glowing like cosmic fire. Sensors swept the area until they found it. Another station, identical to Terminus 7, hidden in the nebulous heart. This time, Maya knew what to do. She led a team aboard while Vexdalen waited, too nervous to enter first. The station was intact, its stasis chambers still functioning. Inside the crystalline prisons, 3 dragons slept. Maya found the names in the station's database and read them aloud over the comm. Cryvent, Solivan, and Mir Thax. She heard Vexdalen's breath catch. My family, my mate and children. They survived. The awakening took hours, careful and controlled this time. Maya had learned from Vexdalen's revival, knew how to bring the stasis systems down gradually, warming them safely. One by one, the dragons opened their eyes to a future they had never expected to see. The reunion was private, something Maya witnessed from a distance. She saw Vexdalen and Cryvent embrace, saw the young dragons who had been children a millennium ago circle their parent in joy and confusion. She saw a family remade in the space between stars. But there was no time to celebrate. Over the next 3 weeks, they found 2 more stations. One was destroyed, blown apart by weapons fire centuries ago. But the other held 4 more dragons, including 2 elders who remembered the old galaxy before the wars. 7 draconids. Not enough to rebuild a civilization, but enough to prove they could survive. The Kryn fleet finally caught up with them at the 4th station. 15 warships dropped from hyperspace, weapons hot, demanding surrender. The Admiral's face filled every view screen in the expedition fleet. You have violated Galactic Council decree, the Admiral declared. The Draconids will be terminated. Any ship that resists will be destroyed. Maya looked at Vexdalen through the video link. The Dragon's family floated in formation behind him. 7 ancient ships facing 15 modern warships. The math was terrible. Even with their advanced weapons, the dragons were outnumbered and still weak from stasis. Then something unexpected happened. 3 Kryn ships broke formation and moved to join the expedition fleet. Admiral Kestran, one of the descending captains, announced, "We refuse this order. The genocide was wrong 1,000 years ago. It is wrong now." More ships followed, not just Kryn, but vessels from across the fleet. Pilots who had joined the military to protect people, not murder them. Within minutes, the Admiral's force was cut in half. Vexdalen's voice rang across all channels, calm and clear. "Admiral, I have no wish to fight you. My people want only to exist, to learn about this new galaxy, to share what we know. We have technology that could help every species. Medical advances, clean energy, methods of quantum computation your scientists have only dreamed of. We offer this freely." "Lies," the Admiral spat. "You want to rule us, as your kind always did." "We never ruled anyone," Cryvent interjected, the dragon's voice carrying the weight of age and authority. "We served as mediators, as teachers. We were murdered because fearful politicians convinced themselves that power must always corrupt. Prove them wrong, Admiral. Choose differently than your ancestors." The standoff lasted 3 minutes that felt like hours. Finally, the Admiral's ship powered down at weapons. "This isn't over," he said. "The Council will decide." "Good," Maya said, speaking up for the first time. "Let them decide in the open, with all species watching. Let's have a real conversation about what happened and what should happen now." The Galactic Council Summit took place on the neutral station of Accord Point. Representatives from every member species attended. And for the first time in 1,000 years, Draconid spoke before the assembly. Vexdalen stood in the center chamber, small and vulnerable despite the dragon size. "We were peacekeepers," the dragon said simply. "We can be again, not through force, but through knowledge. We ask only for the chance to prove ourselves. Judge us by our actions, not by your fears." The vote took 3 days. In the end, the motion passed by a narrow margin. The Draconids would be granted protected status, allowed to exist and share their knowledge. In return, they would serve as advisors and teachers, never taking positions of political power. Maya watched the vote count appear on screens across the galaxy and felt something loosen in her chest. It wasn't perfect. Some species voted against the motion. The Kryn Imperium abstained, neither supporting nor condemning. But it was enough. That night, Maya and Vexthalen stood together on Terminus 7, which had been rebuilt as a memorial and meeting place. Ships from 100 worlds orbited above, delegates arriving for the first interspecies technology conference. "You call my name when all the galaxy had forgotten it," Vexthalen said quietly. "You woke me not just from stasis, but from despair. How do I thank you for that?" Maya smiled, looking up at her impossible friend. "Help us build something better. A galaxy where species work together instead of destroying each other, where names are remembered and honored, not erased." "Then that is what we shall do," the dragon replied. Together, above them, the stars burned bright, and the future stretched wide and full of possibility.